Well, there were two that come to mind immediately. One is a teacher that influenced me in the direction of my medical career when I was in high school, and another who, after I had become a physician, who influenced the direction of my career. In high school, I went to a Jesuit high school, Regis High School in New York City, and many of the teachers were Jesuits in training. They had not yet been ordained as priests, because the training to become a Jesuit is several years of training. They were what's called scholastics, namely they were not addressed as father, but as Mr. And there was one in particular, Mr. McMahon, who was the science teacher at Regis High School, biology and chemistry. And I was at a crossroads because I was very taken up by the humanities, Greek, Latin, Romance language, ancient history, philosophy. And yet I had an affinity for science, and I was trying to figure out how I could combine those two. And I remember after class one day, I had a long discussion with Mr. McMahon, who told me that the best way in his mind for someone like me to combine my affinity for the humanities with my aptitude to science was to actually become a physician, where I could deal with people, but deal with them in a way in which I could use science and medicine to help prevent and treat disease. So it was a very transformative conversation I had with him, and that made it, in my mind, pretty clear of the direction I was going to follow. That is, going to pre-med in college after high school, and then in medical school to become a physician. Once I became a physician, and I did my medical training post-medical school of multiple years of internship and residency, I took a fellowship at the NIH under the tutelage of the director of a lab, and his name was Dr. Sheldon Wolff. And Dr. Wolff became a very, very close friend of mine at the same time that he was my mentor. And my intention was to go back to New York Hospital, where I did my medical training, and practice medicine. But I found out when I was down there that I had an affinity for and loved doing research in addition to seeing patients. And Shelley counseled me in saying that what I should probably do is go back to New York, do a chief residency in medicine for a year, and use that year to try and decide what I really wanted to do. Clinical medicine full-time in New York, or clinical medicine together with doing research studies at the NIH. And he was so kind as he left a slot open for me and said, if you want to come back to us, the slot is always here for you. And if you want to stay in New York, we'll always be friends. And as it turned out, I made a decision to come back. And then I stayed at the NIH literally for an additional 50 years. So he had a major impact on my life.